Hello, the unspoken ladies, welcome to the channel. Never judge quiet confidence by its volume. The strongest presence in the room is often the one that never announces itself. Here's something most people completely miss. Some women don't chase attention, yet somehow they become the center of curiosity. They don't dominate every conversation, they don't post every victory, and they certainly don't waste energy convincing people they're special. Yet, somehow, people keep wondering about them. Why? Because mystery isn't something they create. It's something they naturally leave behind. Psychologists have long observed that people are often more intrigued by what they can't immediately explain than by what is constantly put on display. The human brain craves answers to unfinished puzzles, and some women, without even trying, become exactly that. Now, before you start thinking, this is another video about being cold, unapproachable, or acting like you own a black cat and only answer texts during a full moon, relax. That's not what we're talking about. A true Sigma female isn't performing a role. She isn't trying to look independent. She simply lives in a way that makes independence impossible to fake. In today's world, where everyone seems to be competing for visibility, she quietly becomes unforgettable without entering the competition at all. So, who exactly is a Sigma female? What separates her from women who merely appear confident? What subtle habits reveal her long before she ever says a word? And which signs are so rare that most people notice them, but never know how to explain them? Stay until the very end, because the final signs are the ones people almost never talk about. And once you recognize them, you'll never look at quiet, self-assured women the same way again. Number 1, she judges herself by private standards, not public applause. One of the clearest signs of a Sigma female is that her biggest victories happen when nobody is watching. She isn't fueled by likes, compliments, promotions, or applause. Those things are nice, but they don't decide whether she feels successful. Her real scorecard is completely private. She measures herself by the promises she keeps to herself. If she says she'll wake up earlier, she does it. If she decides to walk away from a toxic friendship, she follows through. If she knows she needs to apologize after making a mistake, she does it even when no one would have forced her to. That quiet discipline means more to her than 100 people saying, "You're amazing." This is what makes her confidence different. It isn't built on people's opinions, which can change overnight. One day you're admired, the next day you're criticized. She understands that chasing approval is like building a house on sand. Sooner or later, it shifts. Instead, she builds on character. She asks herself questions that most people avoid. Did I act with integrity? Did I stay true to my values? Did I let fear make my decisions? Did I become a little better than I was yesterday? Those answers matter far more than compliments from strangers. Ironically, this is exactly why people respect her. She doesn't spend her life trying to look impressive, so when she succeeds, it feels real. There is no performance, no constant need to prove herself, just quiet consistency. She also knows that some of the most important decisions in life will never earn applause. Choosing peace over drama. Walking away from someone she loves because the relationship has become unhealthy. Admitting she was wrong. Keeping her word when breaking it would have been easier. These moments rarely go viral, but they shape a person's character more than any public achievement ever could. The Sigma female understands that reputation is what people think of you. Character is who you are when nobody is looking. And every single day, she chooses to strengthen the second, knowing the first will eventually take care of itself. Number 2. She doesn't perform her personality. One of the easiest ways to recognize a Sigma female is by what she doesn't do. She doesn't change who she is depending on who's in the room. Around wealthy people, she doesn't suddenly become more polished. Around successful people, she doesn't try to sound smarter. Around strangers, she doesn't invent a more exciting version of herself. The woman you meet on Monday is almost the same woman you'll meet 6 months later. That kind of consistency is surprisingly rare. Many people wear invisible masks. They become louder to fit into one group, quieter to fit into another, kinder when someone important is watching, or more confident when they want to impress. It's exhausting because they're constantly managing other people's opinions. The Sigma female has no interest in that game. She knows that pretending is expensive. Every fake smile, forced opinion, and carefully crafted image requires energy to maintain. Instead of spending her time performing, she invests that energy into becoming a better person. The result is something money can't buy: genuine authenticity. This doesn't mean she's rude or socially awkward. She understands that different situations call for different levels of professionalism or warmth, but adapting your manners is not the same as changing your identity. She can be respectful without becoming fake, and friendly without pretending to agree with everyone. People often find this confusing at first. Some mistake her consistency for stubbornness. Others think she's hard to read because she isn't constantly seeking approval or adjusting herself to fit expectations. The truth is much simpler. She's comfortable in her own skin. Over time, this becomes one of her strongest qualities. Friends know where they stand with her. Colleagues know her values won't disappear when pressure shows up. Family members know her kindness isn't an act reserved for special occasions. Number 3. Silence doesn't make her nervous. It exposes everyone else. Most people are uncomfortable with silence. The moment a conversation slows down, they rush to fill the gap. They talk faster, laugh louder, change the subject, or start explaining things no one even asked about. Silence makes them feel like something is wrong. The Sigma female doesn't see it that way. She understands that silence isn't empty, it's revealing. When she stops talking, she starts observing. She notices who suddenly begins bragging just to keep the attention. She notices who interrupts because they can't stand not being heard. She notices who becomes anxious and starts seeking reassurance. Without saying much, she learns more about people than she ever could by doing all the talking. That's because silence has a strange way of removing people's filters. Many individuals can carefully choose their words, but they can't always control their reactions when there's nothing left to say. Their impatience, insecurity, confidence, or emotional maturity quietly begins to show. This doesn't mean she stays silent to make others uncomfortable or to play mind games. She simply doesn't feel pressured to speak for the sake of speaking. If she has something meaningful to add, she says it. If she doesn't, she's perfectly content letting the conversation breathe. Ironically, this often makes people listen more closely when she finally does speak. Her words carry weight because she hasn't been throwing them around carelessly. She has learned that constant talking doesn't automatically create meaningful communication. There's another reason silence works in her favor. It protects her from revealing too much too soon. While others are busy explaining every opinion, every plan, and every emotion, she's quietly learning who deserves access to those parts of her life. People often mistake quietness for weakness, but they usually change their minds after spending time with her. They realize her silence isn't caused by fear, insecurity, or shyness. It's a sign of self-control. Number 4. She pays attention to what people pretend not to care about. One thing that separates a Sigma female from most people is that she listens with her eyes as much as with her ears. While everyone else is focused on what is being said, she's quietly noticing what isn't. She understands that words can be rehearsed, but habits rarely are. She notices who suddenly becomes extra friendly when someone powerful walks into the room. She notices who ignores the receptionist but flatters the manager. She notices who only remembers your name when they need a favor. These small moments might seem unimportant to others, but to her, they're like tiny pieces of a much bigger puzzle. She has learned that people reveal themselves through the little things they think no one is watching. For example, someone may speak for hours about loyalty, yet disappear the moment a friend needs help. Another person may constantly preach kindness, but become impatient with a waiter over a small mistake. Those contradictions don't escape her attention. She doesn't judge people by their speeches. She judges them by their patterns. This ability keeps her from being easily fooled. She isn't impressed by charm alone because she knows charm is a skill. Character is a habit. Anyone can say the right words for a few minutes, but very few people can consistently do the right things when there's nothing to gain. That's why she rarely forms strong opinions after one meeting. She gives people time. She watches how they treat those who can't offer them anything. She notices whether their actions stay the same when no spotlight is on them. Ironically, this quiet observation often saves her from unnecessary heartbreak and disappointment. While others are shocked when someone's true colors finally appear, she usually isn't. She saw the clues long before everyone else did. Number 5. She lets people underestimate her on purpose. Most people can't stand being underestimated. The moment someone doubts them, they rush to prove how smart, capable, or successful they really are. They defend themselves, list their achievements, or argue until the other person changes their mind. The Sigma female rarely feels that urge. She knows that not every opinion deserves a response. In fact, she understands that being underestimated can be an unexpected advantage. When people assume she isn't paying attention, isn't capable, or isn't confident, they often reveal more than they intended. They become careless. They speak too freely. They lower their guard. Meanwhile, she stays calm. She doesn't interrupt to announce her strengths, because she knows real ability doesn't disappear just because someone fails to notice it. If she's good at what she does, time will prove it better than any speech ever could. This doesn't mean she enjoys being dismissed or treated unfairly. She simply refuses to waste energy fighting every false assumption. She has learned that trying to control how everyone sees you is a battle you'll never win. Instead, she lets her actions speak. When the opportunity comes, she delivers results. The co-worker who thought she couldn't handle the project suddenly watches her solve problems with ease. The person who mistook her quietness for weakness realizes too late that calm and weak are not the same thing. She doesn't celebrate these moments with arrogance. She simply keeps moving. There's also another reason she stays quiet. She knows that people who constantly advertise their abilities often feel pressured to protect that image. She doesn't want that burden. She'd rather surprise people than spend her life trying to impress them. Ironically, those who underestimate her often end up teaching her something valuable. Their assumptions reveal how quickly people judge appearances and how often confidence is mistaken for loudness. Number 6. She never tries to win the first impression. Most people walk into a new environment with one hidden goal: to be liked immediately. They carefully choose their words, highlight their achievements, adjust their personality, and try to leave people with the perfect image of who they are. The Sigma female approaches it differently. She doesn't enter a room trying to collect approval. She enters with curiosity. Instead of asking, "How can I make these people like me?" her mindset is closer to, "Who are these people, and what can I learn from them?" That small difference changes everything, because when someone is desperate to create a good first impression, they often reveal a version of themselves designed for acceptance, rather than a version that is genuine. They may agree too quickly, laugh too hard, or share too much because they want to be remembered positively. The Sigma female doesn't feel that pressure. She understands that a first impression is only a few minutes of information, and real character takes time to reveal. She doesn't need to convince strangers that she's intelligent, interesting, or valuable. She knows those things are demonstrated through consistency, not a carefully prepared introduction. This is why she can sometimes seem different from everyone else. While others are busy presenting themselves, she is quietly observing. She notices how people communicate, how they treat others, and whether their actions match their words. She isn't trying to win the room. She's trying to understand the room. That doesn't mean she is cold, distant, or uninterested in connecting with people. She can be warm, funny, and engaging. The difference is that her kindness isn't a strategy. Her personality isn't a sales pitch. Over time, this approach creates something powerful. The people who genuinely appreciate her are drawn to who she actually is, not a performance she created for acceptance. Number 7. She changes her mind without announcing it. One of the most underrated signs of a Sigma female is her ability to change her mind without turning it into a dramatic event. She doesn't see admitting she was wrong as a loss. She sees it as evidence that she's still learning. Many people become attached to their opinions because those opinions become part of their identity. Changing their mind feels like admitting defeat. So instead of accepting new information, they defend old beliefs simply because they don't want to look inconsistent. The Sigma female doesn't operate that way. She values truth more than being right. If she discovers that she misunderstood a situation, believed something inaccurate, or made a poor decision, she adjusts. She doesn't need a public announcement, a long explanation, or a moment where everyone applauds her personal growth. She simply makes the correction and moves forward. That quiet ability is a sign of emotional strength. It takes confidence to say, "I was wrong," especially in a world where many people confuse stubbornness with strength. The Sigma female understands that refusing to grow just to protect an old version of yourself is actually a weakness. She is not afraid to evolve. Her friends may notice that she thinks differently about certain topics than she did years ago. Her goals may change. Her standards may become higher. Her perspective may become more mature. But she doesn't view these changes as contradictions. She sees them as proof that she is paying attention to life. This quality also makes her difficult to manipulate. She isn't loyal to an opinion just because she once had it. She is loyal to what makes sense after careful thought. If better information appears, she has the confidence to reconsider. There is something quietly powerful about a person who doesn't need to defend every past version of themselves. She understands that growth requires leaving certain beliefs, habits, and mindsets behind. Number 8. She can walk away without making it a performance. One of the most powerful signs of a Sigma female is her ability to leave situations that no longer serve her without turning her exit into a public event. She doesn't need a dramatic goodbye, a long speech, or a campaign to make everyone understand why she left. She simply makes a decision and follows through. Many people struggle to walk away because they want the other person to recognize their pain, admit their mistakes, or finally understand their value. They stay trapped in endless explanations, hoping someone will give them the closure they need. The Sigma female sees things differently. She understands that sometimes the clearest answer is found in someone's repeated actions, not their promises. If a relationship constantly drains her, if a friendship repeatedly crosses her boundaries, or if an environment slowly takes away her peace, she doesn't keep begging for change forever. She pays attention, she makes adjustments, and when the pattern becomes clear, she moves on. What makes this ability unusual is that she doesn't leave to punish anyone. She isn't trying to make someone regret losing her. She isn't waiting for a reaction. Her decision is about protecting her own direction, not controlling someone else's emotions. This requires a level of self-respect that many people struggle with. Walking away means accepting that some connections are not meant to continue, even if there were good memories or genuine feelings involved. The Sigma female knows that history alone is not a reason to stay somewhere unhealthy. She also understands that silence can be a powerful form of communication. Sometimes the strongest statement is not a perfectly written message explaining every disappointment. Sometimes it is simply no longer showing up where she is consistently undervalued. People may call her distant or say she changed, but she understands that growth often looks like leaving behind things that once felt normal. Number 9. She rarely explains why she said no. One of the most revealing signs of a Sigma female is her relationship with the word no. She understands that a boundary does not become more valid just because it comes with a long explanation. Many people struggle to say no because they feel responsible for managing everyone's feelings. They write paragraphs, give countless reasons, apologize repeatedly, and try to make their decision easier for the other person to accept. The Sigma female doesn't approach it that way. She understands that excessive explanations can sometimes turn a simple decision into a negotiation. When you explain too much, you often give people something to argue with. They start looking for weaknesses in your reasons instead of respecting your choice. She has learned that "I can't do that" is already a complete sentence. This doesn't mean she is careless or inconsiderate. She isn't someone who randomly rejects people or ignores their feelings. She thinks carefully before making decisions, and she values her relationships. But once she has made a reasonable choice, she doesn't feel the need to defend it endlessly. Her confidence comes from trusting her own judgment. She knows that people who genuinely respect her will not require a detailed presentation before accepting her boundaries. They may be disappointed, but they will understand. The people who demand a full explanation for every no are often not looking for understanding. They are looking for a way to change the answer. The Sigma female recognizes the difference. She also understands that saying yes to everything has a hidden cost. Every time she agrees to something she doesn't truly want, she is trading away her time, energy, or peace. Protecting those things is not selfish. It is responsible. What makes her different is that she doesn't confuse being a good person with being endlessly available. She can care about others while still protecting herself. Her no is not meant to create distance. It is meant to create balance. Number 10. She doesn't need to be the most interesting person in the room. One of the most overlooked signs of a Sigma female is that she doesn't fight for attention. She doesn't enter every conversation trying to prove that she is the smartest, funniest, most successful, or most experienced person present. She is comfortable letting other people shine without feeling like their light takes away from hers. That level of confidence is rare. Many people feel the need to constantly present an impressive version of themselves. They interrupt with their own stories, turn every topic back to their achievements, or exaggerate certain parts of their lives because they believe being noticed means being valued. The Sigma female understands something different. Being memorable is not the same as being loud. She knows that people who are genuinely secure don't need to compete for every moment. They can ask thoughtful questions, listen carefully, and allow others to express themselves without feeling invisible. In fact, this is often what makes people naturally drawn to her. When she listens, people feel heard. When she asks questions, people feel understood. She isn't collecting information just to wait for her turn to speak. She is actually interested in the person in front of her. This doesn't mean she lacks opinions or personality. She can be deeply passionate, funny, and engaging. The difference is that she doesn't need to prove her worth every few minutes. Her confidence isn't built on being the center of attention. She also understands that trying too hard to impress people can reveal insecurity. The person constantly announcing their value may secretly be asking others to confirm it. The Sigma female doesn't need that constant reassurance because she already knows who she is. Ironically, her refusal to chase attention often creates more curiosity around her. People notice the person who doesn't need to be noticed. She leaves conversations with people remembering not just what she said, but how she made them feel, and that is a much deeper form of influence. Number 11. She doesn't collect friends, she collects peace. One of the most misunderstood qualities of a Sigma female is her relationship with people. She isn't someone who believes having a large circle automatically means having a meaningful life. She understands that the number of people around you says very little about the quality of your connections. For her, peace is more valuable than popularity. Many people hold on to friendships simply because of history. They stay connected because they've known someone for years, because they share memories, or because they fear what others will think if the relationship changes. The Sigma female looks deeper than that. She asks a different question. Does this connection add value to my life, or does it constantly take away from it? She understands that not every familiar person is a healthy person to keep close. This doesn't mean she hates people or avoids relationships. In fact, when she allows someone into her inner circle, she often cares deeply and shows genuine loyalty. The difference is that she is selective. She doesn't give everyone unlimited access to her time, emotions, and energy. She has learned that some relationships are built on mutual respect, while others survive only because one person keeps sacrificing their peace to maintain them. The Sigma female is willing to choose quality over quantity. She would rather have a few people who are honest, supportive, and trustworthy than dozens of connections that feel empty or exhausting. She also understands that loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. Being alone for a while doesn't frighten her because she would rather enjoy her own company than constantly surround herself with people who make her feel unseen. This mindset often confuses others because society sometimes celebrates being busy and constantly surrounded by people. But she knows a crowded life can still feel empty, and a peaceful life can still be incredibly full. The Sigma female doesn't collect friends like trophies. She values relationships that bring growth, honesty, laughter, and balance. Her circle may be smaller, but it is carefully chosen. She knows that the right people don't disturb your peace. They become part of it. Number 12. She can enjoy being unknown. One of the rarest qualities of a Sigma female is her ability to be comfortable without constant recognition. She doesn't feel the need to announce every achievement, explain every decision, or make sure everyone knows what she is building behind the scenes. She understands that not everything valuable needs to be displayed. In a world where people often share their lives in real time, many have become accustomed to proving their progress publicly. Success is sometimes measured by how many people notice it. Happiness is sometimes measured by how many people approve of it. The Sigma female sees things differently. She knows that a life can be meaningful even when nobody is watching. This doesn't mean she hides because she lacks confidence. It is actually the opposite. She is secure enough to allow her results to speak when the time is right. She doesn't need constant reminders from others that she is doing well because her own standards matter more than outside reactions. She can work on a goal quietly. She can improve herself without making an announcement. She can enjoy a personal victory without immediately turning it into something everyone else needs to know about. That level of privacy creates a different kind of strength. When you are not constantly seeking attention, you become less controlled by people's opinions. Praise feels good, but criticism doesn't destroy you. Approval becomes a bonus rather than a necessity. The Sigma female also understands that some of the most important moments in life are personal. Healing from something difficult, becoming more disciplined, overcoming an old habit, or building a better future are often quiet battles that don't come with applause. She doesn't need an audience for growth to matter. This is why some people find her fascinating. They may know what she does, but they don't always know everything she is working on, thinking about, or becoming. She leaves room for curiosity because she doesn't reveal every chapter before it is finished. Conclusion. The Sigma female is not defined by how loudly she enters a room, how much attention she receives, or how many people recognize her value. Her strength comes from something much deeper, the quiet confidence to live according to her own standards. She doesn't perform who she is. She doesn't chase approval. She doesn't force connections, beg for understanding, or spend her life proving herself to people who are determined to misunderstand her. She observes, learns, adapts, and moves with a level of self-awareness that many people never develop. What makes her different is not that she is perfect. It is that she is intentional. She knows when to speak and when silence says more. She knows when to stay and when leaving is the healthiest choice. She knows that changing her mind is not weakness, that protecting her peace is not selfish, and that being unknown for a season does not mean being insignificant. In a world where so many people are focused on being seen, the Sigma female focuses on being real. Her confidence is not built on applause. Her identity is not built on attention. Her worth does not rise and fall based on how others view her. She has learned that the most valuable relationship she will ever have is the one she has with herself. And perhaps that is the most fascinating thing about her. She is not trying to be rare. She is not trying to stand apart. She is simply unwilling to abandon herself just to fit into places where she was never meant to belong. The Sigma female is a reminder that true power does not always announce itself. Sometimes it is found in the woman who walks quietly, thinks deeply, loves genuinely, and knows exactly who she is, even when nobody is watching. If you recognize these traits in yourself or someone you know, remember this: being different is not a weakness. Sometimes the qualities that make you difficult for the world to understand are the very qualities that make you impossible to replace. If you enjoyed this exploration of the Sigma female mindset, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment sharing your thoughts, and share this video with someone who might need to hear this message. Your support helps us continue creating content that inspires deeper self-awareness, confidence, and personal growth.